Welcome back to the University of Reading Archaeology Department. My name is Diana Pearl McNutt, and today I'll be doing my third video in Tiny Shiny Photogrammetry. In this video, I'll do a FlipFlop model workflow in Agisoft Photoscan Standard to create a photogrammetry model of a tiny Roman brooch that I took pictures of in my first video and then processed the data in my second video. I would suggest that you would need to watch my second video in order to do the third one, because it will give you the steps to create the images that you would then use in this final model. Now let's get to it, and I'll see you over my screencast. This is the basic FlipFlop model workflow that I will be using to create my Tiny Shiny Photogrammetry. This workflow can also be used for other objects, not just Tiny Shiny. This is a very easy step-by-step. I hope within this screencast I can fill in any blanks or questions you might have regarding how to do this model. I will be using Agisoft Photoscan Standard. The reason I'll be using Standard and not Professional is that this brooch is quite simple in its form, and Agisoft Photoscan can easily recognize it and align the two models together. Now, with some of my other models of brooches, you do need Professional because you can tell the software in Professional where you want it to align. This is more helpful with complicated objects. But let's get going. Here is Agisoft Photoscan. Now we're in Agisoft Photoscan Standard. I'm just going to keep the workflow up on the side so that you'll be able to follow along as I go. The first step is to upload your side A and side B photos into separate chunks. In order to create a chunk, you go to this blue square with the green arrow and you click it twice, creating two chunks. You'll now rename the chunks to keep track of them, maintaining the filing system that you have. Here we go, side A and side B. I'm now going to add my masked side B photos into this chunk. If you go to the button here with the multiple colored squares with the green plus in the circle, here we are in our master folder with masked images side B. You select all of them and you open. And now I will do the same for side A. Here is masked images, side A. So you can see why a uniform filing system helps, because you can track all the different images very easily in order to put them into your model software eventually. So we'll open those up. I'm going to get rid of this little window pane here because we don't need it. And you can see that Agisoft Photoscan has uploaded all your photos into its program. And now we are going to estimate the image quality. Estimating the image quality is actually quite important later on in the texture, but it is nice to see before you start anything else how well your photos have come out. If you go to Quality, click, and Estimate Image Quality here. It's in the third section down. Do Entire Workspace, and this will not only estimate the image quality for side A, but side B as well. Press OK and let it do its thing. our quality has now been estimated, and we have 0.84 is our top one here, and our bottom one is 0.61. Now with your image quality, it's quite important to have nothing below a 0.5. That will just mean it's completely out of focus. I would say you want a majority of your images to be above a 0.7, so mine look pretty good. Here's side B, look pretty good as well. I have a 0.59, but that's good enough, there's only one of them. It's time now to upload the masks. These masks are the ones that were created when we went through and masked everything out in Photoshop. The way to upload the masks is to click on anywhere on your folder here, Masks, Import Masks, from Alpha, Replacement. Now remember again to select entire workspace. This will make it so that it will do side B and side A. Okay. And now you wait. Now that you've imported your mask into your model project, it is time to align your photos. Go to Workflow. If you just have one chunk, aligned photos is fine, but batch process is so much better if you have more than one chunk, because it just does it all at once. So you'll have to come back to see if one of them's done before starting the next. Within batch process, you go Add. Aligned photos is at the top. All chunks, this will do side B and side A. Now, as I've stated, I don't fudge, so while it might seem insane, I do high accuracy for my brooches. Because I want an extremely high amount of tie points so I can get extremely high dense cloud to be insanely precise. But if you don't need that level of accuracy, you can always just do medium, that's fine, even low if you'd like. But the most important thing is to apply the mask to the tie points. The rest you can leave as is. Press OK. Now it's really important to press this button here, Save Project after each step. And I will name it as my master folder. Name, so everything is consistent. Save. And now it will align your photos for you, and you can see here 0 out of 2, so you can't go back and sort of check, and it gives you the estimated time as well. Alright, I will see you back in a little bit. Our photos have now aligned after the batch process. As you can see, we have all our green arrows, and we'll just double check that all our cameras aligned. It's 59 out of 59, 52 out of 52. I pulled up the photo pane so we can get a bit of a grand reveal. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it looks so good. There's so many tie points, it almost looks like a dense cloud. As you can see with Photoshop, we get such a tight mask. There's just these few very random points around the very edges, but otherwise there's not so many extraneous points just floating around in the ether. It's quite lovely. Let's check out side A. Oh, lovely. Come back. Looks very good. Now, going back to my first video when I was saying think dome when taking your photos, I think I'll just quickly show you what the camera alignment looks like so you can understand what I mean by dome. So up here, you can see your camera alignments by pressing this little camera button, and each blue square represents a camera angle that you have taken. As you can see, there's quite good spread Let's check side B. Yeah, the spread is quite good. As you can see, there's different levels that go up and over the object, creating the dome. And this is just me eyeballing, so that's the thing, you don't really need tons of fancy equipment or anything. If you can just eyeball it, that's fine. If you need to do marking, that's fine too. But any real method works just fine. Now that we're going to go on to our next stage, which is building the dense clouds on both of our chunks. Now, I did put into the workflow, apply, build on high. Now, because I really want an extremely good dense cloud, just extremely, well, dense cloud, I try to do it on high. However, you can run it on any setting you like. Low, though, is probably not the best, but medium or high should be fine. Ultra high will not work. Also, it just takes so much time and creates way too much information. So I'm going to do mine actually side B on medium because it turned out a bit better on medium than high. So go to workflow, and since you might be doing them on two different settings, it's better to just go to build dense cloud instead of doing a batch process. So you never know, one of them might work really well on medium or low, and the other one can work with something completely different. So click on build dense cloud. I'm going to go to high on this one because it's side B. Everything is set to go, just use generic settings, press OK. I have jumped forward and have created dense clouds for both side A and side B, and they look pretty incredible. This is the one on high quality, and you can just see the crazy number of points. It looks absolutely gorgeous. If you notice, there is the hole from where it was sitting in the putty. It's absolutely amazing. And side B doesn't look too shabby either. This is on just medium, but there's already enough high tie points to make it pretty incredible to begin with. Now it's time to align your chunks. Now you should not edit your dense cloud before aligning them. Go to workflow, align chunks, select both, point-based, high, and remember to select constrain features by mask. Press OK and let it run. I have now aligned the two chunks, and here is the dense cloud of side A. To check to see if your alignment is correct, go to the three little squares stacked on top of each other up in the top right-hand corner. That show aligned chunks, press OK, and you can see that it's actually aligned together. And if you go to side A, see as well. Now it's better in side A that you can really see how it's been stitched together. So you can see this little white ring around this edge and over here as well. That's where the edge of the putty used to be. This is where you edit your dense cloud. You need to remove those areas that create the seams of where the putty used to be. So I'm going to turn this off, and I'll go flip it over. Now with this one in particular, you need to get rid of this white here where it used to hit the putty. Now you can't just go and cut off this whole thing, because you'll get rid of this lovely curve and edge here that cannot be seen too well in the other model. There's actually a hole here on the other model. You don't want to lose this structure here. That's why it's important to take very thin slivers off of the model itself. I use the square select tool. This gives you a lot of precision and control. Now you'll get used to it, and it's just finding the right angle to just get tiny little slivers, but making sure you do not get rid of anything that is vital. So here you can see I've just gotten rid of this here. Now I need to get rid of this area here. To do this, I'll flip it over to the front. See, it's all about learning the best way of angling it without cutting into the stuff you want. About there. I'll just do a thin sliver here. Delete. And now I have still maintained this area, but I've gotten rid of everywhere where the putty had touched. Now the other side's a bit easier, because if you notice, we've got this here. It's quite easy. So all you have to do is just go, take that bit off, square tool, delete, and now it's time to build a mesh for both. This you can do in batch process. So add, build mesh, make sure it's on all chunks, arbitrary, dense cloud, all the normal ones. Press OK. Remember to do save project after each step. And OK. Alright, the meshes are now done and they look incredible. Because I have such high dense clouds, you get this beautiful skin over the outside. It's captured the lovely ridge details, as well as the indentations of where the enameling goes. And now that you've built these meshes, it's time to merge your chunks. Now after this point, you're only going to use your merge chunk and not use side A or side B anymore. To do this, you go to Workflow, Merge Chunks, Side B and Side A, Merge Dense Clouds, but also remember to do Merge Models. Okay. That didn't take any time at all. What I normally do is just disable, so this red circle with the white line in it, my two early models, this just way of reminding me to ignore that. So let's go to our model, and it looks lovely. We've got some weird patches here, some weird stuff here, but that'll all be fixed in the texture. And as you can see, it's aligned beautifully. By cutting out the putty, we've gotten rid of the seam lines. And now we are all good for texture. I've been a little cheeky on you guys and went ahead and did a texture model just to give you an idea of how I do my texture. Now, with Agisoft Photoscan, it bases its texture not off of the dense cloud or the mesh or anything like that. It bases it off the original photographs. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and run the texture, and I think you're going to notice a huge problem with just running the texture as it is. So here it is, the ghost of putty past. You get this horrible ghosting white where the putty used to be, over here and over here. It's not very pleasant. So what you need to do is get rid of the areas where the putty used to be in the photos, just like you did with the dense cloud. Now, with texture, you don't need that many images to get a good quality texture. The best way to do it is to create a quality baseline threshold. So look at your photos and sort of see what are the numbers that are your highest. I'll just say that. So I'm going to select all the ones I don't want. So Shift, click, and then I'm going to press the disable button, so that's the red circle with the white line, and this just tells Agisoft Photoscan don't use these anymore. Once I've done that, these are the photos that I have left. I will then go in to the ones that I need, right? And I will cut out where the putty is. So I will use the rectangle selection. Just be very broad about it, because you don't remember exactly how big or where the putty is. So add selection, and that'll mask out that area. So you'll do that for all your images and then run the texture. You will get a good texture from this. However, if you want something really good, it's still going to come out a little bit mushy, because you could be missing out images or things are overlapping. So ways to do this, I've sort of explained a bit more in my texture steps. So you need to look for areas that are underdefined or have holes, and once you've noticed those and sort of noted them down, it's good to go into your photos and look for the images that hold the best angle of that place that is missing. You then go in and you mask out that area in particular on the photos. Here's my texture that I did. And I'll give you an example. Oh, there it is. So this is a perfect example. I didn't get as many pictures as I should have of the very top of the brooch, and because of that I kept getting the white ghosting no matter what I did on the little tip. Also the ridges kept coming out really mushy, so what I had to do was black out and just mask out every single part of the brooch except for the very top. And I did this with not only this brooch, not only with the top, but with other areas of the brooch as well. And I also let myself use low quality images as outside of my baseline threshold. Now, since this is a real trial and error process, you probably don't want to keep deleting your experiments. The best way is to get your original merge chunk, duplicate it, and then use these copies to test out your different experiments with the texture. So you can go and rename it if you like. And I think I'll give this something more simple, so maybe texture test 1. And that way, if I keep deleting, I might accidentally delete one that I realize was probably the best one and go, oh no, what have I done? Because I don't know how to redo it. So you might just keep experimenting with this. And eventually you'll get probably tons of texture tests, but eventually you'll get there in the end. And so this is my model. So this is my finished model, and it looks pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. So this took a lot of work, but it's absolutely gorgeous. You too can play with this online. There is a link in the description to our Sketchfab account, and the address is in our credits as well, so you can play around with not only this brooch, but some other brooches we've done, as well as our dig sites. So that concludes our final video of Tiny and Shiny Photogrammetry. I hope this has helped in your own projects going forward. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.